Okay, so AI, right. It's kind of taken over the world, hasn't it? I mean, everywhere you turn, there's AI this and AI that. You know, chatbots are writing screenplays now, cars are driving themselves, and those algorithms, they know what you want before you even do. It's a bit creepy sometimes. But here's the thing. AI didn't just appear overnight with, like, the latest iPhone update.
Yeah, you're spot on there. This whole AI thing, it's been bubbling under the surface for ages. And we're not talking decades, we're talking centuries, like way, way back.
Centuries. Wow. Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, seriously, like ancient myths full of stories about, artificial beings with intelligence. Crazy, right? It's like humans have always had this fascination with making something in our image, something smart.
It's like playing God a little, isn't it? That desire to figure out consciousness and then recreate it. But let's fast forward a bit. Where should we start with the actual history here?
Well, you got to start with the basics, right? The nuts and bolts.
Okay, lay it on me.
So, 1854, this guy, George Boole, comes along.
George Boole. Okay,
Mhm.
not a name I would associate with AI off the top of my head.
Right. But this guy, he gives us something called Boolean algebra.
Boolean algebra. Sounds a bit intimidating.
It's not, really. Basically, it's a system of logic all about true and false. Simple as that. And get this. It's how computers think.
Whoa, hold on. So this guy, working with, what, pen and paper back then, comes up with a system that's like the foundation of all those fancy algorithms we keep hearing about.
Exactly. It's the language of computers, the ones and zeros, everything. It's like the alphabet of the digital age, you could say. Pretty foundational stuff.
Mind blown. Okay, so we've got the language, thanks to Mr. Bull. What comes next?
Well, you gotta have something to speak the language, right?
I see where you're going with this. A brain. A computer brain.
Boom. Early 1800s, enter Charles Babbage. This guy was a visionary. He dreams up this thing called the analytical engine. Think of it like the great granddaddy of the computers we have today.
So like a really old, clunky computer.
Kind of. It was this massive mechanical calculator. But the key is, it was programmable. You could feed it instructions and it would crunch numbers and spit out results.
What dad early?
Yeah. Babbage, unfortunately, he never actually finished building it. Way ahead of his time. Too ambitious for the technology back then.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
But still, pretty incredible. So Boole gives us the language, Babbage lays out the blueprints for the machine, and then
And then we get to a real rock star, Alan Turing.
Alan Turing,
Yeah.
the code breaker. Okay, now we're talking big names.
Right. WWII hero, the guy who cracked the Enigma code. But here's the thing. Turing wasn't just a war hero, he was a deep thinker, a philosopher almost. And in the 1940s, this guy lays down some serious groundwork for AI as a field.
So Turing was thinking about AI even back then, in the midst of all that wartime chaos.
Absolutely. This guy was operating on a whole other level, and one of his biggest contributions, the Turing test, 1950. Still relevant today, believe it or not.
The Turing test. Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
Mm-hmm.
Something about like tricking someone into thinking a computer is a person.
That's the gist. It's a test to see how well a machine can imitate human intelligence. Like, imagine you're chatting with two entities, one human, one machine, but you don't know which is which. If you can't tell them apart, the machine passes the test.
Whoa, okay. That's pretty deep. So it's not just about doing math really fast. It's about communicating, understanding, being human-like.
Exactly. It's about fooling us, basically.
So we've got the language, we've got the idea of a machine, we've got a way to measure intelligence. When does AI become like a thing, an official field of study?
Okay, big moment, 1956. The Dartmouth Conference. It's considered the birth of AI as a field, officially.
So a bunch of really smart people get together and decide, hey, let's make this AI thing happen.
Pretty much. You've got all these pioneers, including John McCarthy. He's the one who coined the term artificial intelligence. They get together at Dartmouth, all excited, brainstorming, throwing ideas around. It's the start of something big.
And what comes out of this conference?
Well, this conference kicks off what some people call the golden age of AI. Tons of optimism, new discoveries happening left and right. Like you get the perceptron in 1957.
Perceptron.
It was this early neural network. Basically, it could learn and recognize patterns, kind of like how our brains work. A big deal at the time.
And then Eliza. I remember reading about that, a computer therapist.
1966. Yeah, ELIZA was this program that could hold a conversation, a very basic conversation, but still, it could simulate talking to a therapist.
Wild. So the seeds are planted, the golden age is in full swing. What happens next?
Well, like anything, AI has its ups and downs. Sometimes funding dries up, research slows down. People call these periods AI winters.
AI winters, I like that. So it's not always smooth sailing.
Nope. But then bam, 1997, big splash. IBM's Deep Blue supercomputer beats Garry Kasparov, the chess grandmaster, at his own game.
Deep Blue. I remember that. Everyone's talking about a computer beating a human at chess. It was huge.
It was a big deal, symbolically. It showed that AI could tackle complex problems, strategic thinking, stuff like that. And then fast forward to 2016, another landmark victory, AlphaGo.
AlphaGo. Okay, refresh my memory.
AlphaGo was this program developed by Google DeepMind. It beat a world champion Go player. And Go, that's a seriously complex game, even more so than chess.
So, another AI victory,
Yeah.
even bigger than Deep Blue.
Yeah, and AlphaGo show the power of these new AI techniques, particularly deep learning. It's amazing how far things have come.
So looking back, it's been a wild ride, hasn't it? From ancient myths to Boolean algebra, mechanical calculators to supercomputers, it's incredible how all these pieces fit together.
Absolutely. It shows you that AI isn't some sudden invention. It's built on centuries of thought, experimentation, failure, breakthroughs. It's a whole journey.
And the journey's not over, is it?
Yeah.
Where do you think all this is headed? I mean, knowing how far we've come, it makes you wonder, what's next for AI?
Who knows? But it's exciting, right? We've got self-driving cars, personalized medicine, maybe even robots that can write poetry better than us. The possibilities are endless.
Endless possibilities, and probably some challenges along the way, too, I imagine. But yeah, it's definitely an exciting time to be alive.
Absolutely. And who knows? Maybe one day we'll have AI helping us solve some of the world's biggest problems, like climate change or poverty. Now, that would be something.
I'd say.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive into the history of AI. It's been a fascinating journey, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely fascinating. And I think it's just the beginning.
I think so, too. Thanks for joining me today, and thanks to all of you for listening. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.